Hey, hello everyone, welcome. It's the 17th of February. I'm Chris Elliott with Cafe. I'm going to start right off the bat with just showing you a quick, interesting count on Meta, and then we'll jump over and just do a fast analysis. The market really hasn't done a whole lot. We kind of closed on the weak side on Friday, but even today they were trying to sell it off, come back, rally. Not much. We ended up being flat on the day, so not a lot going on. But first of all, I wanted to draw your attention to Meta, which I think has an interesting pattern in here, and this kind of jumped out at me by the fact that we had this failure up into these levels, and when I see waves like this, I usually label them as an ABC. You can, if you don't like this, you can do a WXY. I don't have a problem with it. I do think that it's likely that maybe Meta breaks, below this A wave low and pushes lower. There is a chance that this is some kind of a running triangle in an A, B, C, D, and a small E wave, and then you make a new high and then you break. And that's the reason why I would not attempt to do anything on Meta right the way it looks right here, although it looks interesting, but I would only, do something if we're starting to break below that 600 level. That would be a clue, and I would love to see it break, ideally on a weekly basis. Hopefully it wouldn't sell off too much, but someone, one would have to make a decision in kind of how to approach that sell, because sometimes, if you go on a daily time frame, you break below this and then you quickly go back and you kind of run the shorts in a little bit before you actually begin the next move lower. But ideally you would see a break below this level. So just an interesting setup to keep an eye on, if not from necessarily a super clean trading perspective, but from a learning perspective where you can kind of see what happens after a three-wave move. Just kind of keep an eye on it, study it, and see kind of where this goes and how it develops. These are always interesting to watch. So I just wanted to kind of bring them to your attention. If you do break, obviously above this B wave I, then things are morphing into something else. I'm not going to go into into anything spectacular in here, but the idea would be that probably they want to do something like this and maybe one more high later and then come back down. So this is just a quick just kind of quick start for this video. Let me know if you have any questions on that, and we're going to jump off and take a look at the markets, and then I'll leave it for today. But basically Bitcoin did hold this close to 61.8 retracement back here at about 64,800. It did a little bit of a bounce. I warned against this level in here, not that's probably going to offer resistance. We didn't even make it up there, although in Ethereum we got a little bit closer. In the XRP, you actually overtook that high, but so far it looks like an ABC in the XRP. In the Bitcoin, the market is still weak. It's still just kind of trying to shake its, standing up off the floor after it took, for the lack of a better term, a big beating and near 60,000, and it's just, not doing a whole lot. The fact that we failed to, or we were holding it and we haven't sold off, I guess that's a positive sign. But again, I would not attempt to short this. I would not attempt to long it. This is an area where it's just a watch for me. And like I've said many times in many videos, the market will show us once it's time to kind of get going, and that will take time. And so far, this this kind of move off the lows really hasn't gotten any traction, so it's not worth being involved. That's kind of my view on Bitcoin. If I take on the weekly time frames, the move of the highs still looks like a clean ABC. You can see from my previous videos that I have kind of several ways of looking at this, and again, it's not worth speculating too much in here. Even if you sell off one more, I think that's going to be kind of a final sell, and then you bounce a little bit more, and then we'll see. But again, a lot of speculation. No point, to kind of guess everything from a trading perspective. Again, there's really no edge at the moment in Bitcoin. When you look at the markets, on the weekly time frame, we close below that 10-week moving average. We talked about that on Thursday too, and today, they sold off. The futures were weak. We sold off in the first part of the morning. Then we recovered throughout the day, and we kind of ended up flat. you can see kind of the round trip it happened today. That's the open, overtake a new low below last week's low. Then we came back and we closed towards the highs. You could say, a slight bullish tilt on this close. So the expectation here would be that tomorrow you would continue to push higher a little bit. Again, I would not take too many chances where you're standing below that 50-day. The market, it's in a pretty nasty range in here without a lot of edge. It's frustrating a lot of traders. You're gonna get a crossover between these two averages. That's a bit on the weak side in terms of the wave count. We could still be developing kind of the larger second wave maybe, but so far we're just kind of holding there. The Nasdaq, it's been on the weaker side. You can see even in here, we did not necessarily close positive, but towards the top range of that candle, on a decent volume. But you could see that the tech sector was a bit stronger today. I was watching the sectors throughout the day. I guess even the financials were strong, if I remember correctly. But then you got weakness in stuff like in energy and staples, and Walmart sold off, and some of the defensive sectors sold off. But the market was not strong enough to overcome that selling, even with the strength, let's say, from the from something like a technology sector. So the market was a bit broken. In the end, it was flat. But again, not enough here. We're basically pinned between the 50 and the 200-day. If this is a wave 2 or a wave B, we should have lower to go. I will continue to trade with the bearish tilt, with hedging, as long as the Nasdaq remains below this average in here. It's tricky because you're still above the 200, so you got to be careful and not hoping for too much or too aggressive selling, because no bids are going to come in. But the tape is still weak. It's still not healthy in my view. The Dow, after that big failure, is just kind of holding. I have a bunch of stocks that I'm watching, formations that are forming right shoulders. There's opportunities to the short side, not that many on the long side in my view. So that's kind of where I'm fishing mostly, with the market acting the way it is. So that's kind of where we are. I've just done very little bit of scalping today on on the Qs, on the SPYs, on the IWM via TZA, the kind of the triple ones, where I just try to kind of grab on the rallies, short them up, and just grab a few moves here and there. Nothing really too significant there. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. So I will, the metals have sold off too. Gold is holding good. Silver, it's trading weak and now below the 50 here. So if it's a fourth wave, we should start climbing back. Really hasn't happened. We'll continue to watch the tape. Again, thanks everybody for being here. We've gotten a lot of subscribers on Substack, because it's free, and it's it's kind of my videos all kind of put in there. Go ahead and check that out. There is a quick video course there. I mean, quick, it's about 7 hours, and you can look at that. That costs it's like $50, but again, you don't have to. It's just something that if you're interested, or if you're new in Elliott Wave and you wanna I've done this like about 4 years ago. If you want to have it, you can go ahead and have that. It's I don't promote it much, so it's there. But then I'm also on Twitter, and you have a Discord if you have questions or want to share charts, stuff like that. You can find me in there as well. So again, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.